Imagine living in a quiet Irish suburb where nothing ever happens. The wildest story is probably someone's cat getting stuck in a tree. And then, out of nowhere, a 17-year-old girl gets murdered on her way home, and every single person nearby swears they didn't see a thing. Yeah, that's the Raonaid Murray case. 17 years old, Glenageary just outside Dublin. She worked part-time at a boutique called Sally West, hung out with friends, loved fashion, lived the totally normal teenager life. No scandals, no enemies, just a girl planning to go clubbing on a Friday night in September 1999. She finishes her shift, meets friends at Scott's pub, has a drink, laughs a bit, and then heads off toward home. It's a 15-minute walk. 15 minutes? That's how close she was, and yet she never made it back. Because somewhere between that pub and her front door, Raonaid was attacked, stabbed, and left to die. And the craziest part? People heard the struggle, people were nearby, but when it came to actually identifying the killer, suddenly everyone's blind. So here's the thing about Raonaid Murray, she wasn't living some double life, she wasn't running around with shady people, and she definitely wasn't the kind of girl you'd expect to end up in a true crime story. She was 17, living in Glenageary, a suburb just outside Dublin. And if you know Glenageary, you know it's not exactly the kind of place where murder headlines usually come from. She worked part-time in a little boutique called Sally West in Dún Laoghaire. That was her thing, fashion. She had friends, she had plans, and she had a normal teenager's life. She wasn't out here making enemies or causing chaos. The only chaos she was probably dealing with was picking an outfit on a Friday night. And that's exactly what September 3rd, 1999 was supposed to be, just another Friday night. She clocks out of work, meets up with her friends at Scott's pub in Dún Laoghaire, has a quick drink, laughs, does the usual. Then she says she's heading home to change and maybe hit a nightclub later. Totally ordinary stuff. But here's what makes it haunting. There's nothing unusual about this night. No one remembers her arguing with anyone. No one remembers her acting upset. No creepy stranger in the corner staring at her. It's just a girl leaving her job and hanging out with friends. The kind of night you'd forget about the next day. Except you can't forget about this one, because less than an hour after leaving that pub, Raonaid Murray would never come home again. So Raonaid leaves Scott's pub around 11:20 at night. It should have been a straight shot home. 15 minutes tops. She could have practically walked it blindfolded. But here's where the timeline gets messy. Around 11:30, a witness swears they saw Raonaid with some guy on Northumberland Avenue. A man mid-20s, sandy hair, Oasis-style haircut, very late 90s vibes. And suddenly you're like, wait, who the hell is this? Because he's not a friend anyone else remembers, and no one admits to being him. Then at 11:52, another person hears a young woman and a man arguing on Corrig Avenue. Same area, same description. That would mean Raonaid is still walking around more than half an hour after leaving the pub. So what was she doing all that time? Who's keeping her? And then nothing. The trail just evaporates. No CCTV picks her up clearly. No solid witness says, yeah, I saw her walk past here. It's like the walk home turns into a Bermuda Triangle. That's the first huge red flag in this case. She should have been home by 11:35, 11:40 at the latest. Instead, by midnight, she's in serious danger. So sometime after that argument on Corrig Avenue, Raonaid takes a shortcut near Silchester Road. Locals know it, a little laneway that cuts through Silchester Crescent. It's dark, narrow, and honestly the last place you'd want to be walking alone at night. Neighbors in nearby houses suddenly hear a young woman shouting stuff like, "Go away and leave me alone." Then a louder F asterisk asterisk off. And right after that, a scream. And then silence. Raonaid is attacked with a knife. Multiple stab wounds. 4 of them are fatal. This isn't one quick strike, it's a frenzied attack. And even after being stabbed, she tries to run. She makes it about 200 feet down the lane before collapsing. Her body is discovered not by the guards, not by strangers, but by her own sister. And that's the part that really hits. Imagine heading out to look for your sister because she's late and you're the one who finds her lying there. And here's the kicker, nothing was stolen. Her handbag? Still there. Her phone? Still there. No signs of sexual assault, so we can rule out robbery, rule out a random creep waiting in the bushes. Whoever did this did it with a purpose. This wasn't some opportunistic stranger. This was targeted. Now here's the part that makes people absolutely lose their minds, because Raonaid was attacked in a residential area, not in the middle of nowhere, not on some deserted country road. We're talking about a suburb with houses, gardens, people awake, lights on, everything. And yet nobody saw the killer. Nobody. Some people heard an argument. A few people heard a scream. One person even reported a young woman shouting for help. But when it came to actually describing who did it, suddenly the entire neighborhood went blind. The guards went huge on this. They interviewed over 8,000 people and took nearly 3,000 statements. That's basically the population of a small town. And after all that effort, nothing solid, no clear suspect, no confirmed motive, just a mountain of paperwork. And here's where the story takes a weird twist. Under Raonaid's fingernails, investigators found female DNA. For a minute, everyone thought, wait, was her attacker a woman? But then the buzzkill detail comes in. She worked in retail. She was touching people's hands all day, folding clothes, dealing with customers. That DNA could have come from anyone. And just to make it even weirder, multiple witnesses mentioned seeing a guy in his 20s with sandy Oasis-style hair near her road that night. Pretty specific description, right? Except the guards later ruled him out. Quietly, no big explanation. Just, nope, not him. Which, if you're keeping score, adds yet another question mark to the giant pile of question marks in this case. So after the murder, the guards go into overdrive. And at first, it looks impressive: interviews, door-to-doors, statements stacked higher than your nan's china cabinet. Over 8,000 people spoken to, nearly 3,000 statements taken. Sounds like progress, right? Except, years later, the Serious Crime Review team takes another look at the case and basically says, yeah lads, we messed up. Some witnesses who came forward were never properly followed up. Others gave statements that didn't quite add up, and no one chased those loose ends. Even communication between different guards units got messy, which in a case this sensitive is like playing football with no goalkeeper. And then there's the murder weapon. The knife used to kill Raonaid, never found. Not in the lane, not in nearby bins, not ditched in someone's garden. Gone. Which means the killer not only escaped the scene, but managed to hide or destroy the weapon completely. Over the years, there were arrests. Plenty of them. Some suspects even made headlines, but not one charge stuck. Not one. Everyone brought in was either released or ruled out, and every time that happens, the case just slips further into the cold case category. And here's the dark part to this day: the official line is that the investigation is active. But if it takes over 2 decades with thousands of statements, DNA tests, and even help from international profilers, and you still can't pin down a suspect, that doesn't exactly scream confidence. Here's the part that really gets under your skin. Raonaid was so close to home, less than 500 yards. She could have probably seen the lights from her own street, and yet she never made it. The guards poured years into this case. Thousands of interviews, DNA tests, outside experts, and still no motive, no weapon, no suspect that stuck. Which means whoever killed her, they got away with it. They walked off into the night and blended back into everyday life. And that's the haunting twist, because it's not like this happened in some faraway forest. This was a busy suburb. People heard the screams, people were nearby, and still nobody stepped forward with the detail that solved it. So maybe the real cover-up isn't a grand conspiracy. Maybe it's something worse: silence. People unsure, afraid, or convincing themselves someone else will talk, and when silence wins, truth dies with it. To this day, the murder of Raonaid Murray hangs over Ireland like a ghost, not because of what we know, but because of everything we don't.